Aside from the Bankai clip and the favorite book clip being cult classics on my channel, they are also representing the mentality of the average fan. What do these two clips have in common? Their love for the imaginary. The dude is in love with the mere idea of more Bankais in the same way the girl loves the book without having to actually read it. That's your average fan, he always loves what he never got yet. And chances are he's not going to like it even when he finally gets it, because it's no longer an idea. It's never going to be as good as he imagined it, it will never be as precious as when he didn't have it yet. This is the essence of hype and why nothing ever lives up to it. Why do studios keep using these tricks when they know they will be disappointing? Because they know fans live in the moment and imagine the future. By having a plot that is full of mystery or upcoming events to anticipate, it motivates the audience into keep theorizing about that unattainable imaginary outcome. It's why anime romances are not really about romance. Established couples can be far more grounded to reality than perpetually in the making ones. Dealing with issues such as employment, jealousy, pregnancy, or simply parents who are against the whole thing are far more important and serious conflicts than simply going through a gazillion awkward moments just to say I love you. But the majority of the audience is more interested in the build-up rather than the payoff. It enhances the enjoyment in the present, and although it will eventually be disappointing, since 95% of the times there is none, most of the fans won't stick too much to it, as they will soon jump to the next thing they look forward to. In essence, the actual revelation does not matter, since it leaves you with nothing to look forward to. It's all about the anticipation until the revelation, in a way similar to saying the journey being more important than the destination. The outcome of an arc is trivial compared to the discussions the arc itself will generate. The buzz is what maintains the hype, and hype is what motivates people into spending more time and money on the show. This is why mysteries are maintained for as long as possible. They keep a show going regardless of damaging its credibility in the long run. They overshadow characterization, since the audience cares more about what they don't know instead of what they know, and they leave a very bad aftertaste when they are finally revealed. But hey, if it was popular while it was airing through an emotional attachment to the unknown and made a lot of money, who gives a shit about how it ended? It achieved a cult status, it made a lot of money, and that's all that matters. You should view the whole thing as if the majority of the audience is addicted to dopamine. Dopamine is the substance that flows through the nervous system when we get progressively closer to our goal. It produces a sensation that keeps you hooked into doing something and normally goes away once you get what you want. But if you are addicted to it, withdrawal kicks in and you seek even more excitement through even more anticipation. It's never going to be about getting what you want, it's about waiting to get it. This is why so many never get tired of following a story for hundreds of episodes, even though the writing is terrible and it's clearly going to have a disappointing ending. They usually say they want to see how it will end, but in reality all they want is to feel anticipation. In fact, even if they see how something ends, they will just jump to something else that is ongoing, and the cycle will keep on going forever. Why? Because they are dopamine junkies. I wanna love the damn Bankais I never saw, goddammit. One of the many things that changed the way the majority judges something in modern times is the meta aspect. If you watch this video, you will get a general idea of it. A lot of people loved saw that online when it was airing, not so much because they didn't see its flaws, but because they had fun with it. It was fun following the discussions every week, making up theories about what will happen next, overthinking every little detail and laughing at the dunk memes people were making out of it. They enjoyed the spectacle so much to the point nothing else mattered. Of course, it's not hard to realize how they were never judging the show itself, but rather the buzz surrounding it. It's like figuring out how much you liked a book based on the bookstore you bought it from, or the people you talked about it, or what other books it reminded you of. Definitely not based on the actual content of the book. The same thing applies to a big part of SAO haters. They hate the meta aspect of it and not the show itself. I'm one of them, I know the show is terrible, and I keep mentioning what the community thinks about an anime in most of my reviews. And the reason I do that consciously is because there is not that much to be said about the show as there is about its meta. The more popular something is, the more things you can talk about its effects on people. The main reason many of my reviews are short is because they are about titles that never had much of a buzz to deserve more elaborate analysis. If not not many cared about it, I didn't care about going into further details either. This effect multiplies thanks to popularity breeding more popularity. The SAO haters became more vocal after Digibro made his ridiculously long analysis of it. He wasn't the first who did that, I and many others were already shitting it for years. It's just that we didn't have a big enough fanbase to be heard and didn't gather all those who agreed into one big echo chamber. The same thing had happened with the Star Wars prequels. Many hated them, but it was only after Plinkett's reviews when they became more vocal. Many hated Old Noah Zero, but it was only after Demolition D made his review about it when they became more vocal. I can even throw in that article CNN made about anime being child porn. Nobody took notice of it. If you talked about it, they didn't have a large following to make an impact, and it got forgotten immediately. But when For Neverworld made a video about it a few months later, the entire community went crazy over something that nobody outside of anime fans gave a shit about. Most people no longer care about how good a product is by itself. It can be a brick with a hat and it won't make a difference, since all they do is look at the hype surrounding it or how popular is the one talking about it. It's how we got to the point where the average score of Attack on Titan was over 9 a year before it was even out. Or how people call Misty's book to be their favorite without having read it. Or how you could predict the winners of the Crunchyroll Awards simply by looking at the most popular candidate in every category. Or how Erased became the anime of the year in January, got to the top 5 of all major databases, and as soon as it ended, it lost its buzz and it's now just another mediocrity. Because it's not good when you see it as a whole, get it? We are swayed by the meta to the point we have forgotten how to evaluate something for what it is. Plus the industry took notice of it and stopped trying to create quality products with the same frequency. It focuses more on decorations and irrelevant extra shit instead of if the actual product can stand on its own. Do you think all these porn games or light novel garbage I am reviewing have any value once you strip away all the bullshit meta the fantarts have wrapped them around after years of pretentious overthinking? Hell no, most of what they love about them is the discussions, the theory crafting and the dank memes, not the product itself. And until you realize that, whatever you think about a show is wrong, because it doesn't have to do with the show, you fucking idiots! Although I am against stories betting all their money on being meta-commentary, I still expect them to show commitment when they do that. A recent example is the currently airing Recreators, which based on its own premise, it could have been way more than what it shows so far.
A bunch of different characters are coming from different worlds into our world.
The story is about fictional characters coming into the reality of those who created them. It's basically an anime within an anime, being self-aware that it's fictional, and it's given the opportunity to change everything by messing around with its own creators.
This episode met my expectations.
Watching it felt like a sequel to something like The Sausage Party, which I know many of you don't like, but I still love for how committed it was in its meta-commentary. It was making fun of our reality and it was not holding back.
I love how self-aware this series is, with its respective characters and genres.
Recreators, on the other hand, is doing so little with it so far. Despite being self-aware, the characters are not going through any form of existential crisis. They accepted the situation rather easily and are trying to interact with their creators more out of curiosity than trying to make a point.
Humans wrote them, and then now these, different beings are coming from their stories, wants to say that the world they're in hasn't been written.
Instead of getting interesting dialogues about people creating fictional worlds as means to escape reality, explore concepts, or make money, the show limits everything to an otaku lifestyle. We play games and read manga because it's fun.
That's a really interesting perspective to the series when you think about it.
I cannot write it off as a plain otaku pandering series either, since it clearly shows its characters wanting to somehow make a difference by affecting the world of their creators. It's not trying to be just mindless fun, they are actively worried about the situation.
The chemistry that all of them have with each other, communicating, saying how they feel about the situation, it really makes it for an enjoyable watch.
Yet the only thing they are doing is interacting with a boring otaku archetype and constantly fighting each other for no good reason. It's as if the author was more concerned with how he can shoehorn a duel in every episode than what else the characters will be doing besides that.
And it's very fascinating to see the way these, characters interact with, their creators.
I have read the finale of Animal Man where the hero meets his own cartoonist. I like the comic book concept of the New 52, where every reality exists as a comic book in every other reality. I have seen this concept being used so much better in comic books. This, on the other hand, is just average. And it's not making a good use of its own premise either. If you want to go meta, why don't you go meta?
No one really got hurt. When she was having a battle or whatever, you didn't see it to where maybe the buildings were crumbling and it could possibly kill civilians. That was not happening because her world was designed to where it wouldn't harm others. And because of this, she thought that coming into this world, it would probably be the exact same thing, but she was very wrong.
It's not like they are not trying, since there is a lot of collateral damage in every battle, and they are shocked with how they can bleed, but no civilians are ever hurt or killed. How do you even have empty streets and buildings in a major city? There was no time to evacuate, that's impossible.
I remember when I was younger and I was first getting into anime and reading manga, I remember constantly thinking I would love to see these characters have a crossover with these type of characters and just see how they would interact with each other, and that's exactly what we're getting from this series.
Down to it, it's just a dream come true for anyone who wanted to see a bunch of characters from different shows fighting each other. None of them is officially from a known series because they didn't have the copyrights, but it's not hard to make a connection. There is a final boss with a stand, for example. He might as well be Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
I do not want to be disappointed in this series.
Sadly, that's as far as it goes. They are not going any more meta than that, even though they could have and even support it in theory. That's what prevents recreators from being above average at best, and why it's not motivating me to keep watching it. Once again I was reminded why I hate modern anime by watching Chibi talking about the recent episode of Tokyo Ghoul. Most of it wasn't about what was going on in the episode, but rather how it was different than the manga. In his videos of the corresponding manga chapters from some years ago, he wasn't talking about what was going on in the chapters either. He was just mentioning theories, stolen by others of course, about the meanings behind every symbolism and what that means for future events. That's the problem with all these stupid episodic vlogs. They are presented as reviews when in reality they are pretentious overthinking of symbolism and comparisons between the adaptation and the source material. And although there is nothing wrong with them as a concept, they are not about the damn thing they are supposed to be talking about. What does trying to predict future events based on pictures of freaking flowers has anything to do with what is going on at the moment? How does comparing the differences between the anime and the manga say anything about the current episode? It's never about the now, it's always about the future or the past. And the reason why that is happening is because modern audiences are not interested in straightforward stories anymore. Something doesn't have a staying power when what you see is what you get, which is why Chibi was saying Magical Girl's site is edgy when Tokyo Ghoul is also that. He can talk for hours every time he sees a flower or the hair color is different, but there is nothing he can say about a show that has none of that and you watch it for what it is. And I'm not saying Magical Girl's site is better than Tokyo Ghoul for not having symbolisms and overthinking, but it's definitely more honest in what it's about, since it doesn't bait you with supposed secret meanings and wannabe subtle foreshadowing. You watch it for what it is, and modern audiences don't like that. And you might say that it makes sense in a world where information travels at the speed of light and there are thousands of new stuff constantly coming out. Something needs to stand out by crawling into people's minds and make them talk about it, thus creating buzz that will take it above other shows which are not doing that. As nice as that sounds, it magnifies the problem I keep pointing out in modern entertainment. These shows are never about what they are, but rather what they could be or what they could have been. I mean, just look at Tokyo Ghoul in retrospect and tell me how respectable it is after making people talk about it the way they do. When a manga chapter was coming out, Chibi was wasting an hour in theories, stolen theories that is, which were almost always proven wrong. How is Tokyo Ghoul a great show for constantly making you assume stuff that never happened? It's literally selling you hot air. And look what is going on now when an episode comes out. Chibi is wasting an hour in how the differences make it worse than the manga because they ruin future events. The same future events he was almost always proving wrong when he was theory crafting in a stupid attempt to predict how they will play out. How is it not hypocritical to blame the anime for doing things wrong when he himself was wrong about those things all the time? How is Tokyo Ghoul a great show for exposing the idiocy of the people overthinking and defending it like that? Magical Girl's site will come and go without many caring about it, but at least it's honest at what it is and doesn't make the viewer to look like an idiot for trying to sound smart.
Every show has its theory crafters, people who are trying to predict what will happen next instead of only enjoying the show for what it is now. This can be very weird for anyone who is not a fan and is not theory crafting all the time. Also, there are shows that have a lot more theory crafters than other similar shows, so it's again weird to see some shows having a lot of theories while others don't. For anyone who is confused about that, here are 10 reasons to help you understand. The most basic reason is because they like the show. It sounds vague and simple, but it's really just that. If they didn't like the show, they wouldn't be theory crafting. Theory crafting is also a form of coping with people who don't like the show. Wanna prove a show is not stupid as they say? Make up shit for why it's not a show for kids. If there are so many things that need elaboration, this show you are following for years can't possibly be as stupid as the haters are saying. It is also a form of giving yourself hope that there is going to be a good payoff later on. Most shows fall apart at some point or get boring, so making theories about supposed amazing things that might happen later on is a way for fans to not give up on the show. Basically, what is going on now might be boring or bad, but imagine how good it might become later on if this theory is proven to be correct. Please don't drop the show, have faith, it will get better. It helps a lot if the show is popular. The more people are watching it, the higher the odds it's going to have more theory crafters than shows that are not watched by a lot of people. The same applies for the haters, meaning the more people watch a show, the more people are not going to like it. Even there, the fans will be motivated to further make up more theories just for defending the show from the haters. It also helps a lot if the show is full of unexplained stuff. If it's straightforward in plot and doesn't have many things going on in it, you are not giving a lot of material to theory craft. Therefore, theory crafting is prevalent in some fandoms more than it is in others, because certain shows are full of mystery bait. Things that are not explained, for provoking the fans into speculating what is going on. Another thing that promotes theory crafting is the show still being ongoing. Theories are largely useless if the show is over and there is no mystery that needs explaining anymore. If the story is over, people would rather move to the next thing than make theories about stuff that might happen beyond the ending of the show. Also, good theory crafting needs to be detailed and thorough. People who make hour-long theories and use all sorts of supposed evidence as to why something might happen get a kick out of it. It makes them feel smart for figuring out the stuff others don't notice or for predicting future events before anyone else. Basically, it's an excuse to flex their intelligence. Then take into account how a lot of people want to write a story, but are incompetent to do it from scratch. Why bother making an entire world on your own when you can just write side stories in a pre-existing plot? Essentially, they are writing fan fiction. The original author did all the groundwork and throwing the popularity so the fan fiction will have a built-in audience right from the start. Writers who want an audience from the very beginning resort to theories that are essentially what-if side stories. And don't forget that we are in the age of the fast internet, where most people constantly seek instant gratification. They want to consume more content than what officially is out there. If they can't find any, they make more content on their own, or they search for more online. Basically, reading one chapter every week doesn't cut it anymore. The content within one chapter can only keep you preoccupied for one day at the most. What about the other 6? Hey, I know, let's make theories about what might happen in the future. That can keep you preoccupied for months. Since what has happened canonically now can only be one thing, but what might happen next can be anything. And the final reason is the one most theory crafters care about the most. If they are making money by creating content for a certain series, then they will have to be constantly creating content so they can keep making money. When they milk dry the contents of the source material, they just turn to theory crafting so they can keep making money.
All we had was speculation, because there was literally no entertainment value happening other than me looking at my watch. And where I was just like miserable. And I'm like, well, we got to talk about something. We got to talk about what do we think they're going to do theories, and we just sat there and just kind of guessed at what dumb plot thread
Because
was
you're
going to
taking
go.
something that's miserable and you're just trying to have whatever fun you can out of it, which is
Right.
coming up with the dumbest ideas that they were probably
Yeah.
going to do.